Next one we're going to do is number 18 right here. And now we're finding the secant of theta. So if you look up here, theta is this top angle up here. Notice once again, I don't know all three sides. Now if you think about the definition, secant, now that's one of those new trig functions. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So cosine was adjacent over hypotenuse. So secant is equal to the reciprocal of that, which is hypotenuse over adjacent. Now, in this case, if you look right here, we don't really have to find the third side because that's my side that's opposite, and I'm not dealing with that in this problem. Many times on these problems, you will have to find that third side because it's probably going to be used in what they're asking you to find. In this case, I need a hypotenuse, which was my 12, and I need adjacent, which is my 4 root 5. So I don't really have to use Pythagorean theorem to find that third side for this particular problem. Many times you will. So we're going to write our hypotenuse 12 over our adjacent, which is 4 square root 5. Now, some things to simplify. You can reduce here. 4 goes in here once and in here 3 times. And then we're going to multiply top and bottom by radical 5 because we can't leave a radical in the denominator. And we learned that last quarter. So it's 3 radical 5 over 5. 3 radical 5 on top. Remember, square root 5 times square root 5 is 5. Can't do any reducing. So there is my secant of theta. 3 radical 5 over 5. Let's go over to number 29. And now we're going to apply. We're trying to find, they label one side x, and we're given an angle and one side. So you're going to use trig functions to find x, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So if we go through and we look at what we're dealing with here, here's my given angle other than my right angle, and you're going to use one of the acute angles. First of all, you want to look at what side you're dealing with. That is opposite the 23-degree angle. And the x, this one right here, the one we're trying to find, is opposite the right angle, or the longest side is the hypotenuse. So we got to think about which trig function deals with opposite and hypotenuse. And if you remember SOHCAHTOA, opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So you're going to say the sine of the angle you're using, 23, equals the opposite, which is 10, this is my opposite, over the hypotenuse x. So that's the trig ratio we set up. And now we want to always think of proportions when we're dealing with these. So we're going to put this over 1, and we solve a proportion by cross multiplying. So I'm going to cross multiply here. And I'm going to do x times sine 23 equals 10 times 1, or 10. Now, if I'm going to solve for x, I'm going to divide by that sine 23. And remember, that's just going to be something that's stored in our calculator. So we're going to divide by sine 23. So you take your calculator, and you're going to take 10 and divide by sine 23. And I'd type it in exactly like that. 10 divided by sine, and then when they give you the parentheses, put that in there. Okay, and then you hit equals, and we're going to round off to the nearest tenth when we're finding a side length. And this should be about 25.6. So this side, the hypotenuse, is 25.6.